Hello everyone, today I'm back to share another story with you. The story of the single mother, Diệu Hân. I hope you enjoy watching this video. After the very first time he followed her, T began to develop the idea of finding out exactly where Hân lived. He pretended he was only strolling around, slowly walking down the narrow lanes, his eyes discreetly scanning every house and every turn. In the days that followed, he appeared in that area almost every day. Sometimes he leaned against an electric pole, other times he sat quietly at a roadside tea stall, his gaze following the stream of passers-by. Outwardly, T seemed like an idle man simply enjoying the village scenery, but in reality, he carried a single purpose: to catch sight of Hân. His repeated appearances gradually made Hân uneasy. Each time she went to the market or picked up Tom, she felt as if someone was watching her. Whenever she turned around, she often caught a glimpse of T somewhere nearby, only for him to quickly slip away as if his presence were a coincidence. Hân didn't dare tell anyone, keeping her worry to herself. She knew that although T hadn't acted yet, his persistence would eventually bring trouble for her and her son. T wasn't in a hurry. He was like a patient predator. By day he wandered slowly with a cigarette in his mouth, hands clasped behind his back, eyes idly sweeping over each house. In truth, he was memorizing every alley, every iron gate, even the courtyards where women's clothes were hung to dry. On some days, T stood at a distance pretending to admire the fields, but his eyes never left the road where Hân usually returned from the market. When her familiar figure appeared, he smiled faintly, following a few steps before stopping to avoid being noticed. At night he didn't stop either. He rode his motorbike slowly around the narrow lanes, his headlight cutting through the darkness, as though he were just passing by. But each time he picked up new details: houses that stayed lit late, alleys with little traffic spots where children's laughter could be heard. He hadn't asked anyone yet, but with each passing day the gap between him and Hân's secret was shrinking. In his mind, a vague map of her residence was taking shape. He only needed one final confirmation, and he believed it was only a matter of time. One evening, as the sun dipped low, T showed up on the same familiar road. People were returning from the market in groups. In the crowd he spotted Hân, her conical hat tilted to cover half her face, her hands carrying heavy baskets. She hurried her steps, but T had already caught the direction she was heading. He didn't approach directly, instead keeping just the right distance. His motorbike rolled slowly, his eyes locked on her every move. The winding path passed several old houses and led to a narrow, quiet alley. T stopped at the entrance, killed the engine, and pretended to smoke. He watched as Hân opened a green iron gate, quickly stepped inside, and closed the door behind her. T's eyes lit up as though he had just struck gold. Pressing his lips together, a sly smile flickered at the corner of his mouth. At last, she's revealed herself. That night he returned, watching the house from afar. Through the dim yellow light spilling from the cracks of the door, he could make out the shadows of Hân and her child moving inside. T's heartbeat quickened, not from affection, but from a selfish sense of possession rising within him. Hân had no idea that her peaceful refuge had already been marked by the stalker. A new chapter of trouble was about to unfold, and all she could do was brace herself for the unpredictable storm ahead. After discovering Hân's house, T didn't rush to show himself. He was as patient as a predator, carefully observing the daily habits of the mother and child. By day, he often sat at a small coffee stall near the crossroads, pretending to read the newspaper while secretly watching the alley. At night, he circled the street on his motorbike, stopping for only a few seconds each time to memorize the lights and sounds coming from inside the house. T began to calculate. He noted the hours when Hân went to the market, when she picked up Tom, and when the house fell into silence. Every little detail was stored in his mind like puzzle pieces slowly coming together. He knew that as soon as the right opportunity appeared, He could coincidentally approach Han without raising her suspicion. One evening, he crept along the old fence, his steps as light as a cat. Through a narrow gap, he saw Han mending her son's clothes under the yellow lamp. He held his breath, his heart pounding, not from emotion but from a vague thrill, the sensation of prey being within reach. In Ti's head, obsessive thoughts echoed. How can I stop her from avoiding me? How can I make her see me? Then slowly accept me? But beneath those twisted thoughts lay a danger Han still had no idea about. Ti's shadow appeared closer and closer to her home, like an unshakable ghost. Just one mistake, and the fragile peace of mother and child would be shattered. Lately, Han constantly felt something was wrong around her house. Each time she returned from the market or picked up Tom, she caught a glimpse of a man standing at the alley or sitting in a roadside stall, eyes fixed on her. At first, she convinced herself it was a coincidence. But as it happened again and again, unease grew inside her. At night, while crickets chirped outside, she couldn't sleep soundly. Sometimes she startled at the sound of distant dogs barking, or a motorbike passing slowly by. In her mind, the image of T appeared, the very man she had tried to avoid, now lingering like a shadow around her home. Han became more cautious. Every time she went out, she looked around carefully, changing her route to confuse anyone who might be watching. The gate was always locked the moment she entered. She warned Tom never to go outside alone, not even if someone called his name or pretended to know them. She wanted to share her fears with Tom or a few close neighbors, but she worried about causing trouble or being seen as paranoid. So she chose silence, carrying the fear by herself. Only in her weary eyes, and in the nights when she clutched her son tightly, did her hidden anxiety truly show. But Han didn't realize that her silence only made it easier for T to get closer. He waited patiently, while she was gradually trapped in his invisible snare, her sense of safety reduced to something fragile and fleeting. One morning, Han took Tom to the market as usual. Dew still clung to the dirt road, traffic was sparse. As they turned at the crossroads, she froze for a moment. T was already standing there, waiting. He forced a friendly smile, his voice deliberately casual as though by chance. Oh, what a surprise! Didn't expect to see you here. Off to the market too. Han stiffened, her hand tightening around her son's. Her eyes glimmered with caution. Struggling to remain calm, she nodded briefly. Yes. I'm busy, excuse me. She pulled Tom along quickly, but T followed, walking beside her, his tone measured, trying to prolong the conversation. I've been coming around here quite often lately. Peaceful place, really. I guess your house must be nearby. At those words, Han's heartbeat raced. She knew he was probing, even if cloaked in a casual manner. Refusing to reveal anything, she stayed silent, pretending not to hear, and turned onto a busier road. T stopped, watching the mother and child disappear. The smile faded from his lips, replaced by a calculating stare. Still trying to avoid me? One day you won't be able to anymore. From then on, Han lived in constant tension. Every step outside was clouded with fear, expecting T to appear at any moment, to block her path, to force her into facing him. In the days after their encounter at the market, T no longer kept his distance. He began showing up openly around her neighborhood, sometimes sitting all day at the stall by the alley, other times pretending to fix his bike near the corner. His stalking was no longer hidden. One afternoon, while Han was busy tending her stall at the market, little Tom wandered off to play with other children nearby. From afar, T spotted him, his eyes lighting up. He walked over, voice feigning kindness. What's your name, kid? Where's your mother? I've got some candy here. Come closer, I'll give you some. Tom, still small and innocent, stared blankly at the candy in the stranger's hand. Just then Miss Men, Han's close neighbor, passed by. She immediately called out, her voice stern. Tom, get over here right now, don't run off. Startled, Tom quickly ran back to her side. Ti's lips curled slightly, his eyes flashing with annoyance. Though unsuccessful, a darker idea began to form in his mind. If he couldn't get close to Han directly, her son might be the key. That night, when Ms. Min recounted everything, Han's face went pale. Her arms trembled as she held Tom tightly. She realized T had crossed a line. He was no longer just watching. Fear overwhelmed her, pushing her to find a way to protect her son at all costs, before it was too late. That evening, after Tom had fallen asleep, Ms. Min came over to Han's house. Seeing her friend's pale, worried face, she could no longer contain her frustration. "Han, are you planning to stay silent forever? That man clearly has bad intentions. Thank goodness I happened to pass by today, otherwise." Han lowered her head, hands clutching the edge of her shirt. Her voice trembled.
I'm so scared, chị mến.
"I don't dare tell anyone, and I don't know what to do. I just hope he'll eventually get bored and leave." Hearing this, Ms. Min shook her head, her eyes stern yet sympathetic. "You can't just sit around and hope for luck. You need to tell someone you trust, maybe Tan or even the authorities. At the very least, the neighbors should know so they can keep watch for you. Staying silent only puts you and little Tom in greater danger." Han lifted her eyes brimming with tears. Her friend's words rang like a wake-up call. She understood now, fear couldn't be erased by hiding it inside. And alone she could hardly protect her child against a man as persistent and calculating as T. That night, holding Tom in her arms, Han thought for a long time. Ms. Min's voice echoed in her mind. "You need to seek help." For the first time, she considered reaching out to Tan, the only person she believed could help her confront the looming danger. But even with those words resounding in her heart, she couldn't muster the courage to speak up. She feared that if she told Tan, he would worry and might even provoke more conflict. She also hesitated to report it to the authorities, afraid T would lose control and do something reckless. So she chose silence, relying only on her own caution whenever she went out. Yet her silence could not protect her for long. One late afternoon, after selling at the market until evening, she left Tom in Ms. Min's care. When she hurried back home, she found her friend waiting in the yard, face alarmed.
Hơn,
"It's lucky I kept Tom inside." A strange man came, standing at the gate, calling his name. The voice was familiar. I'm certain it was him. Thankfully, Tom didn't run out. Han's heart clenched as if pierced. Her legs trembled, unable to speak. The image of T standing outside, calling her son's name, burned vividly in her mind. This was no longer secret stalking. It was bold, reckless action. That night, Han couldn't sleep. Even the sound of wind slipping through the cracks made her flinch. She knew that if she stayed silent any longer, both she and Tom would face real danger. Ms. Min's words were no longer advice. They had become an urgent command in her heart. Seek help. Immediately. Under the dim light of her desk lamp, she clutched her son tightly, her eyes shining with determination. She knew that the next morning, she could not delay any longer. But before Han could act, T appeared at her gate. He parked his motorbike, holding a plastic bag full of fruit in one hand, with a wad of cash stuffed in his pocket, trying to look generous. He grinned, his tone dripping with fake sweetness. "Han, life must be tough these days, huh? I brought a little something, it's nothing much. Honestly, I want to help you and your boy. If you'd agree to go out with me, give me a chance to get to know you, well, you'd never lack for anything. Money, just say the word." At those words, Han's face turned pale. She stepped back, clutching Tom tightly, her eyes filled with fear. Her voice was firm but trembling. "Stop it. I don't need anything from you. Please leave us alone." The smile vanished from Ti's lips, replaced by a dark glare. He threw the bag of fruit on the ground, banknotes scattering across the dirt. His voice hardened into a threat. "You think you can avoid me forever? A single mother like you. Can you really survive without me? You'd better think again." Don't make me use force. After Han's firm rejection, T stormed off in fury. But instead of giving up, his obsession only deepened. His pride wounded, his desire to possess Han burned stronger. He told himself, if money can't win her over, then I'll just have to force her. From that day forward, T appeared constantly. In the mornings he prowled around the market, deliberately passing by Han's stall with taunting glances. In the afternoons, he loitered at the alley entrance, pretending to smoke but keeping watch. Some days he even knocked at her door, bringing cheap gifts and trying to force her to open. Each time Han shut herself inside, trembling as she held her son close. At night she couldn't sleep, ears straining at every sound outside. The barking of dogs, the echo of footsteps, the slow hum of a passing motorbike all made her jolt in fear. The neighborhood began to whisper. Some saw T waiting for her under the scorching sun. Others said he threatened that mother and son would never live in peace if she didn't comply. Rumors spread, leaving Han humiliated and desperate. Inside her, only two paths remained: continue enduring in silence, swallowed by constant fear, or summon the courage to seek help and end the torment. But Han knew, every moment she hesitated, T would push further, and little Tom's safety grew more endangered with each passing day. One afternoon, as Han was walking Tom home from the market, T suddenly appeared and blocked their way. He smiled slyly, holding out a wad of cash, his voice taunting. Han, think it over. Go with me, and you and your child will never want for anything. Keep being stubborn and the little one will only suffer. Han tightened her grip on her son, her face ashen. She tried to hurry past, but T stood in front of them, his eyes flashing with menace. In that tense moment, a familiar voice came from behind. T, what are you doing? Han and T both turned. It was Tan, still holding the shopping bag he just bought. His gaze was cold as he looked straight at the man blocking the path. T paused for a beat, then forced a laugh. Oh, so you're here too. This is a private matter, don't meddle. Tan stepped forward and put himself between Han and Tom, his voice firm. There's nothing private about harassing someone. You should stop right now. Don't let this go any further. At Tana's decisive stance, Han trembled but felt a wash of relief. For the first time in days, she sensed a protective shoulder beside her. T scowled at Tan. He dared not act rashly. He cast one hateful look at Han and stomped off. Before turning away, he threw a threatening line over his shoulder. Fine, but you'll regret refusing me. Han hugged Tom close, her shoulders shaking. Tan put a hand gently on her shoulder, his voice calm. Don't be afraid. From now on I'm here. He won't dare do anything. In that moment Han knew she could no longer stay silent. She needed to rely on Tan, and she had to be stronger to protect Tom from the storm that was coming. After T left, Tan stayed by her side for a long time. Seeing her thin, trembling shoulders, he spoke solemnly but with care. This can't go on. He's already gone too far. If I hadn't happened to pass by today, who knows what might have happened? Han bowed her head and clutched Tom, tears streaming down her face. After days of living in fear, she felt a little relief at finally having someone step forward. But fear still gnawed at her. I don't want to make a big deal. I'm afraid if he flies into a rage it'll be worse. I just want us to be safe, Tan. Tan put his hand on her shoulder, his voice decisive. That's exactly why we have to act. If he sees you as weak, he'll push harder. We have two options. Report him to the authorities, or get the neighbors to stay alert so he can't approach. But you must decide now, we can't wait. Han was silent, torn inside. She knew Tan was right, yet the fear weighed on her. Seeing this, Tan softened his tone. You are not alone, Han. I'm here and so is Chi-men. If he dares come near again, I'll face him. But to be safe, let me go with you to report it. That's the only way to protect you and Tom for good. Hearing that, Han looked up, eyes wet but with a flicker of resolve. For the first time she felt she had a real support and didn't have to shoulder the fear alone. She nodded slightly and squeezed Tana's hand. "All right, come with me tomorrow. I don't want Tom to live in fear anymore." News about Han planning to ask Tan to bring the matter to the authorities somehow reached Ti's ears. Instead of worrying, he threw his head back and laughed loudly in the tavern, his eyes full of arrogance. Slamming his hand down on the glass of liquor, he growled through gritted teeth, "Report me to the police? Ha! Does she really think the authorities here dare to touch me? My father says one word, and no one would dare interfere." The next day, just as Han returned from the market, there was a loud, relentless knock at her door. T appeared, face dark with rage, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I heard you plan to drag me to the authorities? Don't waste your time. Around here my father's word is law. If you act recklessly, only you and your son will suffer." Han's face went pale as she clutched Tom tightly, but she still tried to summon her courage. "You have no right to threaten us. No matter who your father is, I will not let you keep harassing us." T burst out laughing, full of contempt. "The authorities? Do you think they dare go against my family? Don't be so naive. Obey me and I'll show you mercy. If not, don't blame me." As he spoke, he struck the bag of vegetables from Han's hand, scattering them all across the yard. Before leaving, he hurled one last taunt over his shoulder. "Go ahead, report me. Let's see who dares punish me." His figure disappeared at the end of the alley, leaving Han standing frozen, her hands trembling. This time her fear was overwhelming, for she finally realized T wasn't just an ordinary harasser, but someone emboldened by his family's power. That night, Han held Tom tightly and couldn't sleep. One thought circled endlessly in her mind. If she couldn't find real help, she and her son would be trapped in fear forever. What will Han do to escape Ti's relentless pursuit? Find out in the next video.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video của mình nha. Hy vọng rằng những video của mình sẽ mang đến niềm vui cho mọi người mỗi khi xem. Và đặc biệt là những câu chuyện của mình sẽ có ý nghĩa trong cuộc sống của mọi người, giúp mọi người yêu thương cuộc sống này hơn và trân trọng cuộc sống này hơn. Thì hiện tại mình đang kể về câu chuyện của người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân. Thì người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân này đã phải trải qua rất nhiều sóng gió và khó khăn để có được một cuộc sống bình yên. Nhưng cuộc sống thì luôn luôn là những khó khăn khiến cô phải mệt mỏi và phải gồng gánh mọi thứ. Diệu Hân có vượt qua những khó khăn để đến với cuộc sống hạnh phúc hay không? Mời mọi người đón xem ở những video tiếp theo nha. Và để không bỏ lỡ video nào thì mọi người nhớ like, share và bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo khi mình đăng video mới nhất nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video của mình. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người.